Welcome to the Virtual CPA Success Show, where we're 100% focused on helping service-based businesses achieve success. Are you a business owner interested in learning how to scale your business? Has your business reached over $1 million in annual revenue? Then this podcast is for you.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's podcast. I'm very excited for today's guest. We are joined by Courtney DeRonde. She is here to talk about her virtual CFO firm, who is actually sounds pretty similar to ours. And so we're hoping this will be an exciting episode where we can kind of go through and kind of talk about the differences between Summit and TDT CPAs and advisors. So we're going to talk about both firms. But before we get started, let's just welcome Jody.
Hey, guys.
And welcome, Courtney.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Cool. So, Courtney, if you want to give us just a little bit of background on your firm and kind of how you got started and kind of the services you provide.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am managing partner and CEO here at TDT. I am a CPA, so I did spend a good 17 years or so serving clients, primarily small, medium-sized, privately owned businesses and nonprofit organizations. Though I did both tax and audit when I started out, most of my career was in auditing and financial reporting. And then I transitioned to business development and firm leadership around 2018. And so I've spent the last several years really doing a completely different job that is focused more on vision and strategy of our firm. So I have that firsthand experience running and growing our own business here, but also the experience of serving clients for many, many years. And so most of my time is that strategy and visioning, firm leadership, and then the balance of it is getting to talk to all of our prospective clients and existing clients, hearing what challenges they're facing and sharing how we can help.
So before we get going too far here, you want to give us a little bit of just the stats behind your firm. You know, how many people, how many partners do you operate with a partner structure, and exactly what that looks like?
Yeah, so we have 8 shareholders. We have 10 partners. 8 are equity shareholders. We have 70 team members, and we work across multiple office locations in the state of Iowa and beyond. So we have team members distributed all across Iowa and in a couple of other states. And so our team members, even if they are right in the same community as an office, they don't necessarily work in the office or work in the office 100% of the time. So our workforce is remote and hybrid. And as far as client base, we serve clients throughout the state of Iowa as well as across the country. And so definitely back in the day, it was very much around where we had a physical office location. And over the last several years, we've branched out to realize we can work together remotely. We can work with clients remotely. And so our clients are all across the country now. And we operate, so we've got those equity shareholders, but structure-wise, we are more of a corporate model in that we have an organizational structure with myself as CEO. I have an executive team and we have a leadership team. We run the firm on EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System. So if you're familiar with that, that's the framework that we use for running the firm, which is a bit more of a corporate structure.
Great. All right, Jody. So I know our listeners have been listening to us for a while, but you want to give some of that same information on us so that way we know kind of at least the starting point there?
Yeah, it's kind of funny. So we also work on a corporate structure. So I'm the CEO, and then we've got a COO and then a director team, which Jamie is a member of that team. We have only 2 equity partners, 55 employees, and another 15 contractors. Our contractors are primarily outside of the United States, and then our employees are within, with the exception of we have 1 employee in the Philippines. Our client base is all across the United States. We really don't have a concentration really anywhere of clients. They go from East Coast to West Coast. We have clients outside the United States and Canada, as well as in Central America, South America, and we even have a client in Japan, which is kind of funny. With the brick and mortar, we were brick and mortar from 2002 when we started until about 2013 when we started going remote. We were fully remote by 2014, and basically kicked everybody out of the office, and since then really haven't looked back. We've got, I think, 13 or 14 people that are in the same area that our office is at in Indiana. The rest of the team is completely, from East Coast to West Coast, like I mentioned there. So a lot of things there. We also use the EOS structure, kind of a hybrid structure. It's not exactly the EOS structure, but kind of a hybrid model. And we've been doing that for, a number of years. I can't remember when we actually even implemented it. Probably 4, 5, 6 years ago, something like that.
About 5 years.
Yeah. Basically vision and strategy, that's kind of what my focus is as well. And so it's kind of fun talking to somebody with the same basically the same responsibility, same task. I also do some business development. Really don't do any client work at this stage. I guess that kind of gives you kind of a recap. Jamie, did I miss anything on that one?
No, that's perfect. Yeah, it's exactly. That's a good summary. And I'm going to go down to the clients next, and so I'm going to let Courtney start. So, if people who listen to this podcast know, we do operate mostly in a vertical, but I'm curious how you guys operate in terms of clients. Do you operate in a vertical? What is that vertical, or if not, what's your strategy there?
Yeah, so our focus is primarily on size and stage of business.
Okay.
So we haven't honed in on a specific industry vertical at this time. So size-wise, it's the small, medium, privately owned businesses, and we do a lot of nonprofit work as well. So typically, it's what the traditional SBA small business is, maybe 2 to 50 million, but obviously there's some below, there's some above, but generally it's more about number of employees and kind of what their finance department capabilities are, or the existence of one, whether or not they even have that. So that size, small, medium, and then stage. Our primary focus is the growth stage. So we're not a real good fit for startup, but where we provide a lot of value and solve a lot of problems is when clients have made it past startup and then that growth stage, they're starting to realize they can't keep all the numbers in their head anymore, feel like they're flying blind, they aren't sure, like things aren't working anymore. They're coming up with new challenges as they try to grow and scale, and they don't really want to hire, really shouldn't hire a bookkeeper, a controller, and a CFO, but they still need people thinking those ways. And so that's where we come in. And so that's really our sweet spot, is that stage and that size of business. We do have clients in the mature stage as well, where some of our team, specific team members will do succession planning and really high-end tax strategy around exits and transitions. But really the sweet spot is that growth stage, or the mature business that's going back through a reinvention, like we're going to next gen, or we've realized we can't keep doing what we've been doing, that, and then essentially you're back into growth. So that's really our focus. So we have clients across all industries, manufacturing, distribution, retail, restaurants, sales marketing companies, web-based companies, lots. We haven't gone deep on any specific industry at this point. It's size and stage.
Great. So is that how your people operate too? Like, so if I was a CFO at your firm, would I work on one restaurant and then one manufacturing company, or do you try to group them?
Yeah, so we definitely are very intentional as we add team members to clients based on what they needed. So mostly we're focusing on what are the business models at play here, and what are the different systems and softwares that have to be connected. So definitely like a restaurant or retail has a lot more connections of software with point of sale and different, web-based things. So sometimes in those cases, one, it's a business model question, but two, it's just like all the different technical aspects of all the feeds of information coming in that make it more helpful. So yeah, we're very intentional about that, but we don't have people that only do restaurants in that sense.
Makes sense. Cool, Jody. So again, you want to expand a little bit on how we handle this, and it sounds similar in some ways, but definitely different in some ways as well. But
yeah, definitely. Courtney, again, a lot of what you said is very similar to what we do. We typically deal with clients, I would say, in the small range between $1 million to probably $20 million in revenue, somewhere in that ballpark. We don't do the startups unless they're fully funded startups, where they're capital back. That would be a little different different monster altogether. But for brand new startups without capital, they can't typically afford us, unfortunately. And when it gets to that $1 million, that's when we start to see that it starts making sense for them. And our average client's around $5 million, so it kind of gives a range there. And we'll take them all the way from the growth stage to eventually the exit stage, like you had mentioned there. And we're finding a lot of our clients, I'd say there's probably at least 12 of our clients that are 12, probably even more than that, are looking to eventually exit. So it's kind of fun. We're taking them through that as we speak, going through the due diligence and that sort of thing. And how rewarding is that when you see somebody that you brought on maybe at $1 million and now they're at $15 million, 3-4 years later, and looking to cash in on their investment, their firm, which is pretty cool. I would say, with our niche, we work with primarily service companies. 60% of our client base is in the creative agency space. That's like a web design, web development, SEO, SEM, online company, something that maybe it would be in the remote world. That's the primary focus of our marketing, and that's where 60%. But we do have others in the restaurants. We have coffee shops and a bunch of other types of restaurant or types of industries. We try to stay out of manufacturing. We don't typically have manufacturing clients, but outside of that, we find that the remote world works well. So with our client base, the majority of our clients, we've never even shaken their hand. Everything is done fully remote, from East Coast to West Coast, and the same thing goes with our employees. Until we have our retreats, a lot of times I will not have the opportunity to shake their hand as well, and so it's kind of a unique model, but works really effectively. And I think with the pandemic, if there was something that great that came out of it, it would be the fact that I think companies are open to allowing their team to work remotely, which works really, really great, because you can get a really good diversity of people, from diversity of thought to diversity of, you name it. It really kind of opened that avenue for that. But then it also opened the avenue where there's a lot of companies that were once, kind of resistant to, having somebody come on remotely as a CFO or as a CPA firm. That now it's becoming very acceptable. Where we're seeing a lot of companies call that would never have called before, because now they know that, hey, it's probably a good idea to have somebody, and maybe I don't have the local talent in my small city or whatever, and I want to venture out and see what else is out there, and they can reach out to your firm or to our firm or to firms like us. And I think that that's probably one of the big benefits that came out of it, if you want to look at a benefit in such a tragic situation.
Yeah, for sure. So Jody, you talked a little bit about employees there, but you also talked about the marketing strategy. So I think since we've identified a little bit of a difference in terms of us being a little bit more vertical centric and Courtney being a little less, I'm curious, Jody, I obviously know your answer here, but why don't you talk about our marketing strategy? Then I'm kind of curious with Courtney's marketing strategy.
Yeah, so our marketing strategies, we focus, like I mentioned, everything towards the vertical. So we right now have one vertical. Eventually we'll have two, maybe three, maybe four, as we go. But with that, our sole marketing is built based on the creative agency space. So when we do our content marketing, we do it like on a regular weekly basis, daily basis for the most part. We're writing articles all the time. We're doing speaking engagements to different societies in which those folks are listening, and we become that thought leader. And with that thought leader, it's really it's pretty cool, because what it does, it gives you the credibility that you may not have just as a regular CPA. The credibility that this person really understands our industry, or this person really gets us, is a big thing. And because of our niching and really focusing on that niche, we find that we can really hone in on streamlining our processes, making our team even more efficient than what they might have been before. The vernacular becomes pretty natural for our team. They understand it because they're hearing it from 8, 10, 9 different clients, that sort of thing, and it becomes something that it becomes a really nice referral base from clients to clients. Coffee shops referring coffee shops, or creative agencies referring creative agencies. because they understand they know our situation. Whereas every accounting firm out there could probably do the exact same thing, but it's just the focus and the marketing efforts that drive in that niche. So we're extremely niche based. And I would say the niche base is really is probably one of the main reasons that we've grown so far because we started Virtual CFO Services back in 2004, and with the Virtual CFO service, and again, when I talk about that, that's not bookkeeping and accounting, type of stuff. Bookkeeping and accounting, or back office accounting, or whatever you want to call that, is about a third of what we do. The rest of it's the strategic planning, the weekly meetings with the clients, going through a forecast, and really diving into the cash flow and all that kind of good stuff. Clients really like that and really look out for that. But from 2004 until we niched in about 2011, our growth was maybe 4 or 5 clients a year. It wasn't a lot. Plus the concept was very new. There wasn't many companies out there doing it. But it wasn't until we actually focused on it that we went from 4 to 5 a year to 4 to 5 a month. And that's what we're currently picking up on average, about 4 clients a month at an average client of about $70,000, meaning that's what our fees are. Breaking it out in a weekly subscription base where they're paying a weekly fee, same amount, they know what it is all the way throughout, similar to what they would do if they hired like the bookkeeper or the accountant or the CFO, that type of arrangement. So niching's really kind of helped us really grow and explode. Since 2010, we haven't seen a year under 25% growth, a growth rate, which is pretty outstanding. And this year is no different. We're getting off to a really great start. So that's the value that I see being in a niche space versus being in a general space. And Courtney, I'd love to hear your take on that topic as well.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think niching down is really a valuable strategy. I think where we're at is probably maybe where you were in that 2000 up until 2013, I think, is whenever you started niching, is like figuring out who can we best help, and then going deeper into those specific industries. I think right now what we have seen is just in changing our approach and the way that we serve clients, we're attracting all kinds of businesses. And so there's some that it's not a good fit and we don't take it. And then there's some that we take it and then we realize later, oh, this is a lot different than we expected. And there's some that's like, yeah, this is great. And so I think we're probably still in that mode that I assume maybe you were, of doing different things and really getting to the point where, okay, so which things really are our sweet spot in terms of industry niche. And so I completely agree with the strategy. For now, we haven't pinpointed which ones we want to
That's the
focus
most fun,
on.
right?
Yeah.
And I would add to that, we wouldn't turn away clients outside of the niche if they're a great fit, because that's, again, we have 40% of our clients outside of our niche, but the key that what we've seen is really kind of honing and focusing on that niche and really driving to and marketing, all of our marketing efforts going to there. So a perfect example would be, something comes out tax wise. Well, it would be, here's the tax benefits for creative agencies, and it could be the tax benefits for construction companies, or it could have been, what non-for-profits. But, it might be the same tax benefit, but the marketing effort or the branding effort or whatever is going towards, that niche. And that's where we see the benefit, because I'm sure you've had it before. You've had clients come up and say, hey, did you know that you can really save a lot on this Section 179 deduction? It's like, okay. Okay, all of our clients have had that for a long time. But they read it in a journal that was geared towards dentists, and they brought it to it as if this is a brand new idea. And then I guess that's where the marketing effort comes in, really focusing on that towards specific trades. So it sounds like your team might be moving towards that or trying to identify what that is.
That's definitely been part of our plan for the last several years, and just determining which things really are a good fit that we that we can go after. And what we've been trying to, and maybe this is the wrong approach, I'd be interested to hear how you guys approach this, Jody, but we've been looking at, okay, we want to feel like we don't just have a concentration, we have a deep understanding before we put ourselves out there as, you know, someone who is specific to this niche. So that's where we've been really building that kind of broad understanding of these different business models and different clients, and seeing what is more work and more, and what things are not, and who, I mean, because even there's some it's, I don't want to sound stereotypical, but some industries tend to attract certain types of people that might just not be as fun to work with for the type of people that we hire. And so there's things where you kind of like, oh, so we haven't found that yet. And during that research, we've also just been mindful of, we want to feel like we've got a depth of expertise, not just we have a bunch of clients in this niche.
Yeah, I think what's interesting, and I think I've talked about this quite a bit recently, but I think oftentimes you find your niche through convenience. Okay, we've got 5 or 6 clients in this area, and then you have to ask yourself, okay, is this something I'm actually interested in, or is this something I can be passionate about? Because yes, convenience is good, but like your clients are going to see right through you if it's something you're not passionate about, right? So like I think the industry we're in, I know I'm extremely passionate about. I love learning about it. I love going to events and talking to people in that industry, and like you said, again, it's somewhat stereotypical, but the people you meet are all somewhat similar in some ways, and so you have to make sure you are passionate about that niche if you're going to really devote your team to it and really say, okay, this is what we're going to work on. So again, I think I've talked to so many companies, like we went to a event for the Bureau last December, at least I did, and this was a topic that came up, and so many people are like, yeah, we do banks just because that's what we've always done, and like you could tell they weren't passionate about it, and they're like not loving their life, where it's like you talk to someone else, the next person over is like, oh, we work on restaurants and we absolutely love it, and like every time I go to a restaurant I say, hey, this is my client, I'm super excited and I'm bragging about it, and like those companies are the ones that grow faster, are the ones that are passionate about what they're working on.
Yeah, I agree.
100% agree.
That's a great perspective.
Yeah, 100% agree. And you mentioned, the quantity is really not the issue. You could have 100 restaurants, but not have the passion, or not have the person that understands them deeply enough to really be that voice or that thought leader. And so, but then on the converse side, you could have a thought leader with only maybe 2 clients. It doesn't necessarily mean that they don't understand, or they don't need 20 clients to be that thought leader. If they understand that vernacular, they may have came from that industry. It may be that they came from the dentistry industry or whatever, and worked with dentists for 40 years, and the firm only has maybe a few dentists, but that doesn't necessarily preclude them from being the thought leader and that focus that you could go towards. So yeah, I 100% agree. You've got to have the person that's passionate, as Jamie had mentioned there, and man, you can really tell when those folks are passionate, because they really, really, really love it, and you can kind of see that when they get that type of client, their eyes are like, this is great, versus not a doctor, or something maybe they're not, or construction comes there, oh boy, engineer, or whatever that might be. But yeah, so yeah, 100% agree. You have to have that person that's that thought leader, the person with the passion that wants to take the ball and run with it.
And I think the lucky thing is that there are people that they hear engineer and they're like, oh, that's super exciting, right? So I think it's just you have to work towards your people, and I think that's what makes what we do, and why we sell this course, and why we talk to people about what we do, is because we know what our space is, and we know what it is, and we know we're passionate about it. And I'm sure there's someone out there listening to this podcast that's like, I love talking to engineers, they're fascinating, and they are similar to us. That's a space that every time I see a bridge and I wonder how it's built, and that's like, those are the type of people that they want to work with. So I think it is just what makes this space so exciting, is that there are so many small businesses in every different area that you can get passionate about. So let's turn the topic here a little bit. I know we only have about 5 minutes left, but it would be stupid of me to do this podcast and not talk about people, because that's the hot topic. And so, Courtney, let's talk about your recruiting process and hiring, and how you find the right people that can deliver these difficult services.
Yeah. So when we implemented EOS at the end of 2018, we got really clear about our vision and our values. And we started aligning our people with those 2 things. And so I would say that's when it really shifted for us. Once we got clear about who we are and where we're going and what we value, it became the filter for who is with us and who do we add. And so that literally changed everything. And it's not just putting them on the wall or putting them on the website, it's continuously talking about them, recognizing them, um, calling them out, doing videos about them, just all over the place, our values, and reminding everyone of our purpose and connecting everything we do back to the purpose and the vision. So when we're creating a change initiative around something, it's because it's tied to this bullet point on the vision so that people connect the dots. Because then people who are like, this is stupid, I don't want to do that, can disengage and find something that they are passionate about, back to your point, Jamie.
Hmm.
And those who are can be really moving the tide much, much more quickly. And so that's really what I would say what changed everything for us around recruiting was getting clear about our vision and our values and just talking about them all the time so that our people know. And like I do a weekly LinkedIn video. I've done that. I think this is my third year doing that. That was probably one of probably the single biggest impact on recruiting is because
For
I was
sure.
really intentional about staying connected to all these students who I had met or interviewed or who had interned with us or people who had been at the firm and left and went into private industry. They're all connected to me on LinkedIn. And I do a video every week and it's not about TDT services. It's personal branding. It's like what I'm dealing with as a leader, what I'm learning, where we're
Hmm.
growing. And so people start to see the culture of TDT
For sure.
and our values and our vision, and then they're attracted to it. And it's like that just totally flipped the switch.
No, I think that's a great point. I love the idea of the video because I think I saw a turn for us too. I'm curious for you as well, Jody. But like I think when we started doing the podcast and the videos, is like people when we come in to interview them, they know us already. Like there are questions, but they're more detailed questions. It's not like the high level. Hey, tell me about Summit. It's like okay, in a podcast 4 months ago you mentioned this, can you give me more details about it? So like when I interview people now, it's like they already have that base level of knowledge because they understand who we are and they understand what we bring. And so I think that once we got on video and started like just making people know all of us, and then they like when they meet Jody and Adam, they actually like know Jody and Adam because they've been listening to them talk so much. And so I think that was a game changer for us as well. I mean, would you agree, Jody?
Oh, 1,000%. You know, Courtney, I mean, just hearing you, it's like, oh, you sound just like us. It's like a lot of things you're saying. It's like, wow, this is great. It's awesome speaking with somebody that has similar values, similar ways of doing things. The fact that you, on a weekly basis or on a LinkedIn and going through a video, is just a short, quick 30-second, 5-minute, 10-minute. Can you give us a little bit more insight on that? Because that is ingenious.
Yeah, so
you
it's
know.
typically 1 to 2 minutes. Yeah, 1 to 2 minutes, unscripted, and almost, I'd say 99.9% of the time, it's a one take. I'm not perfecting it. It's very authentic and genuine. So I'm thinking throughout the week, something happens, I've learned something, there's an analogy or something. A lot of times my kids say stuff. They're like, that's a really good like life lesson or whatever. And so then I will think about, okay, that's what I'm going to talk about. And I'm a very spontaneous speaker anyway. And so
Hmm.
for me, I just kind of have my idea, and as if we were talking right now or we met for coffee this morning and you're asking like, hey, what's your week been like? That's the tone in which I share it. And so it's usually 1 or 2 minutes tops, very authentic, very, kind of unscripted, so that people get to know who TDT is by way of getting to know who I am.
I love it. Yeah,
Yeah, me too.
I love it. The fact that you say it's even unscripted is huge. And a lot of people, and especially a lot of accountants, think that they have to have everything perfect before they do it. And that is so untrue. That is so untrue because you're never going to be perfect. And so the unscripted part is great because it kind of gives you the real you. It's not the you that somebody wrote for you to talk about. It's the real you, and that's the genuine part about it. And that's what I'm sure attracts the people that want to join your organization because they feel like they know you. They don't. They feel like you know you, and they assume that you as a resemblance of the entire team, which is pretty outstanding. So, like I said, tons of kudos for that. That's pretty awesome. So, I love it, and I might steal that idea from you, just so you know,
Yeah.
Courtney.
Yeah.
So if you see it coming out, I will give you kudos. I'll give you credit for it.
Yeah, well, and it was something that the digital marketing company and video production company that we work with, that we've done some other produced videos with, they told us, that's a differentiator for you. You are
For sure.
just very approachable, and that shows up in video more so than if you write something. And so even though on LinkedIn, video doesn't really get as much reach as a written post or even a photo post, the reach it does get is way more engaged. And so they were like, you just need to get comfortable putting yourself out there on video every week, just being you, and that'll broaden your reach. And I cannot believe how many people I run into that say, I love those weekly videos. And I'm like, well, if you would just like one or comment on them, I would really appreciate it.
Exactly.
But really, it's not even so much. It's just like knowing that people
Yeah.
are seeing them and they feel like they know what's going on with me, even if we maybe haven't been able to meet for coffee in a while. And then the last thing I'll say about this is just my team sees these as well. So we have a remote workforce like you guys do. I mean, some people are in other offices, but they're not in the same office as me. And so people, at least on a weekly basis, get exposed to like what I've been up to or what I'm thinking about or where my head's at. So our team watches these videos as well, not just, other people outside of the organization. We've seen impact there as well.
Oh, that's beyond great.
This has definitely been a theme on podcasts when we bring in people, is that you never know what's going to work, and so you might as well just try it, right? I think that's what the thing is like, I think technology has made this world so much smaller, right? Like when and I bring this back to the podcast again because it's our video thing. When we first started doing this, I'm like, okay, nice, my mom will listen, and maybe like one person who's really looking for that topic will listen, but like again, the amount of people it reaches and the amount of people that listen and comment on it and will bring it up to me like, oh yeah, I watched your podcast. I'm like, you did? What? Like, were you trying to get like put to sleep, or what was the goal? It's like this, it is crazy. Like, and again, it's something that when we've tried it, I'm like, okay, we'll try it. And I think that goes for the same thing with you. Like, okay, yeah, let's just do this, and who knows? But like, I think the lesson for our listeners is like, if you have an idea, don't be afraid to try it, right? Like, because you never know how many people you're going to reach with it, and you won't. Failure is not a bad thing, right? And again, most of the times it does work out, but if it doesn't work out, it might move you in that next step towards what the right thing is.
Yeah.
So,
Yep. We always say we're either winning or learning. So if it doesn't work,
exactly.
You're learning something.
Awesome. Well, I think this has been a great episode, Jody and Courtney. I've definitely learned, and it was fun to hear someone who else is similar to us, his perspective on a lot of these things. So I definitely appreciate bringing you on, and I definitely can see future episodes bringing you on too, because we only very briefly touched on a couple topics there. I know there's a lot more we can go into. So appreciate both you, Jody, and Courtney for coming in and doing this podcast.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
Courtney, you'd be available to come on again at a future date?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to. Yeah, because we didn't even talk about hours or productivity. Or,
No, nothing.
There's so much
Yeah.
more we can do. Yeah.
Yep, for sure. All right. Well, thank you.
Enjoy this podcast? Visit our website at summitcpa.net to get more tips and strategies for achieving business success. We're here to be a resource in this ever-changing industry.